This just in. Former high school drama teacher and heir to the legendary Canadian Mr. Dressup has gone missing. If you see someone appropriating any of these cultures, please do not assume their identity because you may be imprisoned under he/his new federal law. Last week, a convoy of trucks arrived in Canada's capital of Ottawa to protest Prime Minister Justin Trudeau's vaccine mandates. As these barbarians were crossing the city gates, Trudeau fled the city to an undisclosed location where he stated that,
I have attended protests and rallies in the past when I agreed with the goals. Black Lives Matter is an excellent example of that. But I have also chosen to not go anywhere near protests that have expressed hateful rhetoric and violence towards fellow citizens.
He/his tweets show his disgust for these unruly protests and their defacement of national monuments, something that would be completely unconscionable at any of the protests that Truant Trudy likes to attend. After several days of isolation, the triple vaccinated Prime Minister came down with a case of the couve, which did provide him with some additional vacation time, although it came with the side effect of proving his protesters' point.
I want these truckers to get vaxxed like I did, so they don't catch COVID like I did.
To alleviate this symptom, Justin Trudeau stated that anyone who opposes vaccine mandates are
souvent misogynes, souvent racistes.
Which obviously makes sense considering that Truant Trudy belongs to more minority groups than all of these racists and sexists combined. In fact, the only minority that Justin does not belong to are the
small fringe minority
who remain unvaccinated, even though that fringe is disproportionately black. If you're wondering how a drama teacher could come up with such an incomprehensible plot, need I remind you that there's a reason actors do not write their own scripts, although they do beat up the occasional drama teacher.
The current Prime Minister of Canada, Justin Trudeau, is somebody you went to school with.
We actually beat up Justin Trudeau.
You beat him up?
Yeah.
With all of the blankist and blankphobic slurs somehow not uniting the country, Trudeau may need to take a page out of his father's book. Justin Trudeau is the alleged son of renowned politician Pierre Elliott Trudeau, aka Swinging Pierre, a man who's quite intimately familiar with protests.
I am speaking to you at a moment of grave crisis, when violent and fanatical men are attempting to destroy the unity and the freedom of Canada.
During his first term as Prime Minister, Swinging Pierre earned the unique distinction of being the first and only Prime Minister in Canadian history to invoke the War Measures Act during peacetime.
Invoked at 4 a.m., hundreds of arrests are made in the Montreal area. The roundup includes authors, intellectuals, and singers.
Something that was quite controversial at the time.
Prime Minister Pierre Trudeau put soldiers on the streets of Ottawa.
I'm worried about living in a town that's full of people with guns running around in it.
Are you? Have they done anything to you? Have they pushed you around or anything?
How far would you go with that? How far would you extend that?
Well, just watch me.
After losing office, Pierre swung right back in, learning a lesson from his previous tenure and amending the Constitution to include a notwithstanding clause, which can be used by the government to override the freedom of any of its citizens, giving all future leaders, including his son, the power of a man he admired more than any.
Pierre Trudeau is not a man easily captivated by other men. But on this tour and possibly in his lifetime, no man so visibly riveted Trudeau's attention as Fidel Castro.
Viva il Primer Ministro, comandante Fidel Castro!
The notwithstanding clause has never actually been used, but Justin Trudeau is no stranger to setting historical precedents for let's call them morally questionable goals.
Trudeau was dogged by questions over a statement he released upon Castro's death. Castro was a legendary revolutionary and a remarkable leader who had tremendous dedication and love for the Cuban people.
When a Canadian company called SNC-Lavalin was under federal investigation for providing more than $45 million worth of bribes to the government of Muammar Gaddafi.
We came, we saw, he died.
Justin Trudeau stepped in, pressuring the Attorney General to use a law that he created in order to defer the sentence, essentially letting them off scot-free. This act was so egregious that when Justin got off with no consequences, 50 women in the House of Commons turned their back on him to protest. Sure, there might not be a lot of logic to any of the statements that Truant Trudy makes, but I mean, let's cut the guy some slack. Just imagine how coherent you would be after sustaining this much self-imposed head trauma. So this video is obviously quite a bit different than anything else I've ever put out there, but it was something that was just occupying too much of my mental space to not talk about, and I feel a little bit better now that I have done it. Although I am not happy with the fact that I did not really keep in the spirit of this channel of providing the most objective perspective on things possible, but I just really have a hard time seeing things from his perspective. I know that there's a lot of people on Twitter who seem to agree with him, and I would like to be illuminated as to what facts I might be missing or help illuminate them as to some of the things that they might not be seeing. So I want to make a trip up to Ottawa myself. Anyways, let me know in the comments what you actually thought about this, because I'm genuinely curious and, you know, a little bit afraid to see your responses. Although, with YouTube removing dislikes, I guess maybe that'll help my ego, even though I still see them. Anyways, looking forward to hearing more from you, and I will see you guys in the next one.